Hey, welcome to the first practical video where we'll do something with ChatGPT. We'll build a program. So I want you to open ChatGPT and Althony. So for ChatGPT, you need to go to chat.openai.com, load that, and then open Thonny, so you can find Thonny either as a shortcut in your desktop or among your programs. I prefer to use the desktop shortcut to open Thonny. And you should see something like this. So what we want to do now is, as an example, we want to create 100 text files. Now this is just an example, so you can change this query, you can adjust it with your needs, and we'll have dozens other examples. But this is just a demo, so let's focus on actually getting this task done. So the task is, we want to create 100 text files, right? Each text file should contain a different boy's name inside. So let's say for some reason you wanted to create 100 text files, but you don't want to do that manually on your computer, right? You don't want to right click, create a new text file, then create another one, or copy paste and so on. It becomes very boring and annoying. So let me show you how to automate that. So this is like a blueprint I'll give, and you can do the same with other types of programs. So each text file should contain a different boy's name inside, right? And then we say, write me a Python script for that, dot, and execute. So press enter to execute, and then wait for a response from ChatGPT. If you get an error, try to reload the page. Sometimes you get errors, so try to push this button or just click here and press enter to reload the page. In my case, it's working, so I don't have to do this again, but if so, you need to reload the page and then write the query again. So this is the answer of ChatGPT. It normally should consist of an explanation what ChatGPT is about to do, and then it gives you the code. So this is the code that it is giving to me. Your code should be slightly different, right? So don't expect your code to be identical with mine. The answers that ChatGPT provides change slightly depending on when you're writing them, or perhaps you did something different, some wording was different in your case. However, the core of the answer, the program, should behave the same generally. So what ChatGPT is doing now is writing Python code. So when ChatGPT finishes writing this code, we'll copy this code and we will build a program out of that. We will execute this code to generate the program output. To copy the code, you can do it here, but don't press it yet. So this button, copy code, or you can select it. But you first want that ChatGPT finishes with the writing. So it's still writing in my case. You will know when ChatGPT completed the code, when this disappears. So currently there's a stop generating button here, which implies that ChatGPT is still generating the answer, the response. So don't copy the code yet, because you'll be copying uncompleted code. So after this code, ChatGPT will also write an explanation what this code does. You don't have to read this, so if you are learning coding, then it might be meaningful and useful to read the explanation of the code. But I assume you don't want to go into the details of the code, you just want to create programs, and that's what this course is about. So without knowing any code, you want to be able to build complete programs. So you don't have to read the explanation here. In that case, since ChatGPT finished with the block of code, you can either wait for the answer to complete, but it's also fine to just copy the code now by pressing that button. Right, so what I've just done is I copied the code on my clipboard so I can paste that code somewhere. So I'll go to Thonny, This is where we will paste that code and output the actual program, create the program. So normally your Thonny should look something like this, and there might be an open file already with the untitled tab here, but you can close that. I would suggest you to just close that. And so the first thing you want to do is you want to go to View and go to Files. Right. So what that will do is it will show you your file explorer, so the folders and files you have on your computer. So this is just like the Windows File Explorer or the Mac Finder, and it's currently pointing to my AS folder, which is inside users, inside my C drive. So that's the current path of this view here. So I have these folders inside the AS folder. Now, what I want to do is I want to create an empty folder where I'll place all my files that I'll build throughout this course. So I suggest you to do the same. I'll create that folder inside the AS folder, right? If you want to do it in another folder, so for example, under Documents, you want to double click over documents like this, and that should point you to the new directory, Documents. So now we are inside the Documents folder on my computer. So if you want to go back, you click one of these folders. So I'll go back to AS and create a new directory. To create a new directory, you need to find like an empty area here and right click and then go to new directory. So I'll write ChatGPT course and press OK. So a new ChatGPT course was created, this folder here. Now what you want to do is you want to double click that folder, and then you are inside that newly created folder, ChatGPT course. Right? Now inside this folder we want to create a new file. So right click somewhere in here, go to new file, type in a name for the new file, for example, lecture1.py. Now the first part, lecture1, can be anything, so feel free to use your own naming for this, but the second part, .py, is mandatory, so please use .py as the extension and press OK. So this new empty file will be created in here, and then in this empty file you want to right click and paste the content we copied from ChatGPT. So that is the code that we copied from here. And then you want to press Ctrl S or Command S if you are on Mac, or you can go to File and Save. So save that, and when you do that you'll see the file in this current directory. So in my case it's inside ChatGPT course, this folder. So what we've just done so far is we created a new Python program. We haven't executed the program yet, so we haven't seen the output yet, what this program does. But we do have the program already, and that is stored inside lecture1.py inside the ChatGPT course folder, which is inside AS, which is part of users and part of C. So if I open my file explorer, so here is my C drive, and if I go to users, right, users, and then if I go to AS, and then if I go to ChatGPT course, you'll see lecture1.py in that folder. The icon might be different in your computer, so don't worry about the icon, but that's the actual file. So it reflects that. That's just something that I wanted to show you. You don't have to open your file explorer, so just to demonstrate you what's going on. Basically, you want to work on Thonny, this program. You normally won't have to open your file explorer on Windows or Mac, wherever you are working. So Thonny is all-inclusive. Right, so now let's try to run this program and see what output we get. To run a program, you want to go to this icon. You see the green button with a triangle inside. So you want to press that, or alternatively, you can go to run and then go to this run current script, or you can also press F5 or whatever shortcut you see here. In my case, it is F5. So either way, I prefer to use this button, run that, and the program finished executing, and I'll show you where the output actually is in just a bit, but you know that the program finished executing when you see this line here in the shell area. You see shell, and then you see these arrows. If you see these arrows here, that means the program finished executing. Now, where is the output? Well, to see the output, we want to refresh this directory here. To do that, you want to go back to the upper folder. In my case, it is AS, so click on AS, and then click back again, so double click on ChatGPT course or whatever folder you are using. So double click there, and now this view is refreshed and you see boy names here. So boy names is a folder in the same directory with lecture1.py. And also, just for the sake of curiosity, if you go to your file explorer and you go to your C drive, users again, AS and ChatGPT course, you'll see that the folder is also there. Right, so now you can double click inside that folder and you'll see all the files generated. So 100 files. Right, starting from file 1. The sorting of these files is based on alphabetic order, so that's why we see 1 and then 10 and then 100 and so on. Anyway, that's another thing, but if you click any of these files, so for example file 2.txt, that file will open here in Thonny and you'll see the content of that file. So Benjamin, file 20, Finn, 21, Tyler, and so on. The content in your case, of course, will be different. So maybe file 21 has John inside, another file has another name, and so on. So the names are randomly assigned to each of these files. Of course, you can also open those files from your file explorer. So boy names, you have all these files here, right? It's the same set of files. To go back to the ChatGPT course directory, you just click here. That's the code and that is the output. So the output was boy names. Perhaps in your case it generated the files directly in this ChatGPT course directory. That could be the case also. As I mentioned, the code generated in your case could be slightly different than mine. So be aware of that. But in my case, the program created a boy names file. Now, one very important tip is you don't want to mess up with this Python file, with the lecture1.py file, right? So that was how to create a program with ChatGPT and Python. So that was Python code that was generated by ChatGPT. Now, this was just an example. We'll have many more exciting examples throughout the course, and I'll give you tricks and tips on how to make the best use of ChatGPT. And we'll not only create programs, but you'll learn how to change those programs as well, how to adjust them, optimize them, because I understand that this program might not be exactly what you're looking for. So you may want to follow up with ChatGPT to ask it more questions, to give you some changes, to make some changes in the program, and then you execute that again. So that's a lot of cool things that you can do with ChatGPT and Python. This is really an exciting area of computer programming. So everyone can actually make use of programming through the help of ChatGPT. So I hope you're excited as much as I am, and I'll see you in the next videos with more examples. See you there.